Hi guys, Nell Rojas here, and this is the final episode of my build for the New York City Marathon. Once again, thank you to our sponsor, Honey Stinger. They've been so awesome. Check them out and get some nutrition from them. So night before the race, and just been chilling all day. Just got back from dinner, and now we're just gonna kind of go over the race plan and such.
We know that it's going to be warm tomorrow, so that's going to play into the strategy a little bit. And Nell is extremely intuitive. I don't really need to say that much about the race plan. There's not much you can do on race day anyway, but we started this conversation months ago as to what the different possibilities were. So, she's ready for just about anything. And even with a few major marathons under her belt, a couple, her learning curve has been extremely steep, and she's learned a lot. First Boston, she ends up leading the race, which was unexpected, which is not her game plan. But she's learned to be extremely flexible with the racing strategy just over the last few marathons. And each one is a completely different scenario, and you never really know what to expect. So I think what she does is she does really well at reacting to situations and making the best out of situations. This has been by far her best build-up, just in terms of health. And before Boston, she had a nasty head cold, the first Boston, yet was able to pull that one off. And before the last Boston, her quads were trashed. She's able to pull that one off. So coming into this one, neither one of those things exists. So she's got a huge advantage experientially, and then from a health point of view, coming into this race. So I'm sure she'll handle all the eventualities quite well.
Yeah, I think as far as weather goes, the kind of in my situation, in my position, you're not really in a race like New York. You're not like, I need to tick off 5:30s. I need to tick off 5:35s. You're not looking at your time. You're kind of more feeling. You're feeling your body. You're seeing how you feel, and then you're also trying to gauge where everyone else is. And so you're trying to run your own race, take it easy, for the majority of the race, while keeping other people in sight or keeping other people in check. So it's not like I'm like, okay, I'm going to start 5 seconds slower. I'm going to start 10 seconds slower. It's more like, all right, I'm going to be very smart. And if the group goes and I'm like, yeah, this is too hot for this pace, I back off. And then, making sure I don't skip any bottles, making sure I might carry my bottle for a little bit longer. Maybe I'll have it in my hand for 2 miles so I can get the whole bottle in. And yeah, I think those two things are important. And then I also think if it were in the 80s and hot and humid, then it would be a whole different scenario. But at this point, if it's cloudy, and it's 65 and humid at the start, I think that's game on. I don't think that's a huge game changer for these women that I'm competing against, but anything hotter I think would kind of shift things.
Yeah, and we're not concerned so much about the time as what she just said, keeping an eye on people, trying to maximize that place finish as best we can, and looking for opportunities as the race progresses, because there's a whole spectrum of possibilities as to what other people do. They might be aggressive and end up having problems in the last 10K, or not. But I think a lot of things will come up, a lot of opportunities will come up in the last portion of the race over the last 10K as they go through Central Park, even until the last few hundred meters. You might see some place changes. So, but statistically, if you have the top 10 people, 3 people may not have a great race out of that top 10, and that's pretty much the history of these top races. So it really comes down to probably a pool of less than 10 people who will be very competitive.
If this race and the training leading up to it were a chapter in your autobiography, what would the title of this chapter be?
Okay, if my race were a chapter of an autobiography, what would the title of this chapter be? Oh man, this would be. That's funny, I like that. Hone in on your spirituality.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
You mentioned in, I think it was the last intro for the video about how you had your mantra that we are all one, and you've been working more on meditation. Is that kind of where that comes in, focusing more on the inner?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, like, you know, when you're, like, younger, you're like, you know, at least I was. Could be very different for everyone, but, you know, you're a little bit more reactive to emotions, or, you know, giddy, or, you know, and I think as you get older, it gets a little bit more, like, life gets a little bit more heavy, and you face these, like, real life problems, and you, like, go through these, like, inner, like, dialogues of, like, you know, all this deep, like, meaningful stuff. And so I think, you know, for me, running brings out a place where I, like, have to go in and figure out how to deal with those things. And that's the only way that I'm going to excel at my running, is to be, like, confident in myself and really, like, hone in on those types of things. So I think that's why, you know.
Yeah, I love it. That's awesome.
I think you've probably had a similar, like, experience.
Well, I think you know, what I tend to pay attention to is the physical part of the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And running the race itself, I'm going to focus in on how my body is reacting to a situation. You know, focus on my breathing. I'm going to focus on my big muscles, how they're functioning, and monitor those and run according to how I feel. So that's kind of. I mean, I think it's what she was saying just a minute ago.
Yeah.
No, wasn't that what you said?
Different kind of topic, but
Yeah,
Oh.
it's almost like the inverse, where like you're focusing more on like the mental, the inner thoughts
Mhm.
and things, whereas you're very like, forget the thoughts, let's focus on the body.
Right,
What's the body
exactly.
telling me, and it's
Yeah.
kind of an interesting like symbiosis.
No, that's good, Nate. Yes, absolutely. I'm big on monitoring how I'm feeling at a particular point in time and making adjustments accordingly. Breathing is really important, and she's very, very keen on breathing, as well as you know, monitoring the big muscle function and not not overdoing it. You know, in a very simple sense, not going anaerobic, staying within myself the entire race. And she's been great at doing that. I mean, she had a great decision at Boston last year when they made a move just past 13 miles. And she said, you know, you guys, good luck. I'll see you out there. And she ran her own race, and it ended up working out really well for her.
Rick, as a father, how do you feel watching your daughter line up at another world major marathon?
you can know how to trigger him to cry.
Well, as a coach, it's like I said before, it's just very cold and calculating. But as a father, it's very emotional.
You can see the pride viewing for sure. Both coaches and fathers have similar responsibilities, providing support, encouragement, guidance, but also discipline, sometimes pushing and not always agreeing. How have you two balanced this father-daughter, coach-athlete relationship?
Well, for me, it's trying to keep her from overdoing it, because she's so motivated. It's hard for her to go back sometimes. And so my mantra's always been less is better than more. Whereas she tends to push it sometimes a little harder than I think she should. But so it's sort of that balance that has created some success for her.
Yeah, I think he honors, like, my opinion too. So, like, if I come to practice and I'm like, yeah, like, I'm like fatigued today, I think I need, like, I can do it. I always do the workout, but there's some days where I'm like, look, I need to, like, get through this without blowing myself up, or I need to today I feel pretty good, like I think I'm gonna push at least 1 or 2, and I think he takes that feedback pretty well. So yeah, I think we've reached a pretty good point where I think we trust and understand each other, so it leaves it pretty open for each of us to have our opinions.
Yeah, I try not to overcoach, not just Nell, but the other athletes as well, where, give them the workout, and it's up to them to interpret the workout and try and make the most, optimize that workout. And I think that teaching method tends to work really well because they have a lot of autonomy in their decision-making process and how hard they run. And I'm not going to go out there and give them, okay, you got to do exactly this or it's not going to work. It's more like, okay, here's the template, here's the piece of music. You play it the best way you possibly can. You can read it, interpret it, and express yourself through that workout and then in the races themselves. So it seems to work pretty well. I mean, I'm working with adults. I'm not talking about high school kids or middle school kids or even adults who have not less experience. And they have enough experience to make good decisions with, good direction. And, I give them that direction and they can take it and run with it.
I guess any final thoughts before the race, either advice or parting words?
I'm very nervous. But, I just keep on remembering that all I can do is the best I can. And I think I am nervous about, mostly about how my legs are going to feel. I'm not as nervous about, like, what place I'm going to come in or what time I'm going to run. I'm just like, I hope my legs come together well, which they should. But, and then also just like, yeah, respecting the distance and, knowing that it's like a huge feat to get to that 26.2 miles, like focused the whole time and doing your best the whole time. It's just like, it's a lot. So it's going to be a lot of energy and, yeah, I'm excited to give it my all.
All great stuff. I mean, like I said before, Nell is very good about managing situations, good, better, and different. And if she has a good day and she manages her energy efficiently, she should do very well. And even on her bad day, she does well. So, I'm confident she's going to do, and it is what it is, and she's prepared for it. And, we just hope that things will go well for her and she runs her usual smart race.
Yeah. I haven't had a bad marathon yet. I shouldn't say that. But sounds awful. But but you control what you can control. So yeah.
Let's welcome to the finish line another one of our TC New York City Marathon
All right, so just finished the race, and it was a bloodbath out there, really, really and truly. It was really fun. The crowds were insane. The volunteers were amazing. I think, you definitely learn from every marathon you run. And this one was not to go out with the front pack. Like, I don't have to be with the front pack the first 20 miles or the first half. I don't have to be with the world record holders. That's not where I am yet. And I have to be realistic about that. But I think a lot takes over, you want to be up there, you want the cameras on you, you want, to give yourself a chance, which you're actually, I think, doing quite the opposite, in my opinion. And so that's kind of what I took from that is run your own race, and make sure you can finish strong. So yeah, I'll kind of go through the race. Felt good. You know, we started pretty easy the first 10K. I think these New York and Boston, well, this race was definitely very uneven. It was like we were either sprinting to a water station or we were jogging. And then, or someone was making a move and for some reason we thought we had to go. So it was like a very yo-yo kind of deal, which I've seen in a couple races now. So it's one thing where it's like I can't take the bait, you know, like don't take the bait. I give a lot of credit to Emma Bates, who doesn't, you know, she hangs back and she is confident enough to say like, no, I'll make up that ground and the girls will come back to me. But when you're going and slowing down and going and slowing down, that takes like up so much of your energy. So I was feeling good though. Through basically, you know, I backed off the lead group at about maybe 13 miles and was like, okay, like they're running 5:15s, 5:20s. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to like try to run more like 5:25, 5:30s. And then they just came back to me kind of naturally. And then they win again. So I felt good until mile like 17, maybe 18. And after that it was basically like let's like really try to get to the finish at this point. My times, like I positive split like crazy, which is something that I don't typically do. But again, like this course was like extremely humbling and so hard, and you know, it was hot for the first half and you just continuously learn lessons. So I'm happy with a 10th place finish. I'm not ecstatic. It leaves me, you know, like feeling excited to go train more and get faster and get better at these types of races. And like do, you know, this is like kind of like Boston, where you do the race and then you're like, oh wow, that's how that course is, and now I like that's how I should train for that. So after each race, you know, we like to go through basically training, and we go through like how did tempos go, how did intervals go, how did mileage go. We go through all of the basically different things that go into training, and we rate them, we talk about them, and then so we can like manage them and tweak them for next time. And then the other section is performance. So like, what did you do in the race that was good, and what did you do in the race that was not good, or you need to work on for next time. So if I were to think about this race, I went out too fast, obviously. So that was something that I learned. And what I did well is, I guess I executed my bottles really well. And I really did get it. Mentally I did well. I never really gave up. And I stayed focused. So I guess those are things, you know, you always think about things later, and but because it's so fresh right now, I'll have to think about that. But yeah.
Cool.
All right. I really thought I was talking into a black hole this whole time. But out here in New York, I have had so many people tell me that they watched my YouTube videos and they really liked them, and I really, really appreciate that. Thanks for watching. I hope you at least got a little something out of it. Entertainment, if not anything else. And I once again thank you to Honey Singer for sponsoring these videos. And yeah, up next for me is a huge question mark. I'm going to take some time off and go to Peru, hike the Inca Trail and go to the Amazon and do some cool things. And then excited to get back at it. You know, I am going to go do a little stint in Kenya with Sweat Elite. And then I am going to probably go train in Portugal for a little bit. And then I'll let you know. Thanks for watching.